Howdy y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is AR Cavley, and we're going to continue the adventures of the Wanda and her crew as they explore LW-610. When we left off, they had just gone into hypersleep, and the ship had gone into hyperspace. And so as we go through our checklist here, check for hyperspace dropout. All right, so let's roll 2 die 6, and it only drops out of hyperspace on a 2. Nope. All right, so no hyperspace dropout. All right, exit hyperspace. Crew emerge from hypersleep. Endurance roll +4 to avoid a day of sickness. So the lights begin to flicker on, and the systems start pumping up the heater and pumping up the recovery medicines into the 8 hypersleep tubes. The lights start to flicker. The environmental control system starts to whir up and make the internals of the ship more comfortable for a waking crew, ready for them to start their rotations. So what we're just going to do is we're just going to go through and roll for all of them. And that's an endurance +4. Oops. I don't think I actually have to put the +4 there. All right, 13, that's good. Let me hop back over and see what endurance roll +4. All right, I'm going to assume that's an 8. Everything that has to do with the space flight, like I said, is under this bookmark. So I'm going to verify I've just got everything. Refueling, flight, hyperspace, hypersleep. And check the EMA +4. All right, so it doesn't specify. That generally means that it's an 8. So he makes his, no problem. Alicia Sharp. Okay, 11, no problem. Hey, Benicio, no problem. Now you could probably just make a single roll for the whole crew, and if it fails, pick up a couple people. But I have handy roller macros, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it my way. Ooh, barely. All right, so he's up and about enough, but just barely. He's not feeling great, but not enough to affect his duties. Okay. 10. Nine. So far, so good. Oh, 16. He did real well. And for those of you, I've got the rolls come up here on the right hand side, which I think you can see, as in case one of these dice happen to roll under a different window and you can't see it. Yep, he's not even affected at all. In fact, he loves hypersleep. It's a miracle of science, it is. And an 11. Okay, so the entire crew, they get up. They're, of course, they're still groggy, and it does take them a while to recover, but they recover swiftly. They're not sick for a day, which is sometimes what happens when they come out of hyper sleep. And the hypersleep information, it's on page 89, as well as being on the checklist for the Explorer campaign. Ugh. I hate this. Groan, mumble. Oof. I think my catheter grew like 8 sizes while we were asleep. And the typical grumbling of grumpy space people as they wake up, get dressed, and take their reviving pills, take their protein shakes or whatever they are given, protein bars, probably some kind of a thing to get their body going. And the captain, who was feeling, Captain Maxwell Carver, who was feeling foreboding, he was feeling that great sense of foreboding as he went under. When he awakes, it's forgotten. It's all forgotten. He's the only thing occupying his mind is the nausea and the foggy headedness of waking up from hypersleep. All right, everyone, come on. You know the drill. Man your posts. Let's start getting the system sweep taken care of. And the crew starts heading to their stations to do the work of being survey scouts. Now we can steps 1 through 10 are previous. They kind of share with other campaigns. You know, you create your characters and you come up with a star system and you do the space flight stuff, and that information's in the shipping campaign as well. It shares with there. But step 11 is where it starts being more specifically for the navigation campaign. So they're going to survey the system with a navigation roll, and it takes a certain amount of time to do that roll, or to do the scan. Now this particular one, surveying the system, it has the procedure here on page 134, or starting on page 134. We have a little note here that if you do have the hostile setting book, the star systems are listed in the catalog, and LW610 is listed in there, but like I said, I've chosen not to use the details there and just make it a random system to take hostile solo out for a spin. All right, so it's time to man the sensor stations and find out what is where. Moons, stars, systems. Of course, this system is on the map and it has been observed, but all of these systems, there's a lot of data, and the amount of time humanity has been exploring them is pretty short. So every time you go in, you never know what you're going to find. So a crewman must make a difficult navigation roll, which will take die 6 plus 1 hours. Let's see. I would normally think that might be the sensor ops guy, but since it's navigation, I guess it would be the navigator. So Luke sits down and he spins a little lucky top that he has that he keeps at his station, and he just starts plowing away, starts taking readings from the various sensors, the optical scopes, the gravitometers, everything else that they're using to figure out what's going on in the system. So this is a difficult navigation roll. So being difficult, it's going to be -2. And let's see. Oh, look at that. All right. So he succeeds in his roll. And this takes 1 die 6 plus 2 hours. All right, so the next 6 hours, everybody is getting their space legs beneath them, doing their system checks, running their station scanners and maintenance routines, while Luke is looking for interesting things. I'm going to go ahead and note that real quick. Now, since we're in the new system, since we're starting to get to the meat of the thing, I think it might be time to explore the crisis, the looming crisis. We may not actually end up using a looming crisis, but drama points, we'll start keeping track of drama points. The drama points are used to track an escalation in tension to serve as basically a timer. When it equals 14, every time there's some kind of escalation and a scene is resolved successfully. Now this is to build up, so this timer increments basically when you succeed, to make sure that things just don't go your way the whole time, because as it says, it is a science fiction horror game. All right, so just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And immediately a drama point is gained. Make a drama roll, 2 die 6. Result is 14. Okay, I can't make that anyway, so I'm not going to bother rolling, but I will note it. In fact, I think I'll note it here at the very top. Oops, not 12. Not yet. All right. And the drama, talking about the looming crisis and the drama points, that's back on page 77. You'll see it has a bookmark there. All right, surveying the system. You travel to the system and you come out at the hyperspace point and remain there to conduct a system survey. You pop out, and then that's when you start making your observations. Okay, so each system contains a minimum of 1 star and 2 die 6 plus 2 planetary bodies. All right, so to create a star system, first roll 2 die 6 plus 2. Okay, so not many. With five bodies in the system. And then the next step is on to see if there's other stars. Okay. On a 9 plus, the system is binary. And this is just regular 2 die 6. Oh, okay, so it is a binary star system. On a 9 plus, it's binary. So 11 or 12 indicates the existence of a trinary star system. Okay, so where's the companion stars found? For a binary system, roll 1 die 6. Odds indicate that the companion occupies orbit 1, while evens indicates that it occupies an orbit beyond the system's furthermost planetary bodies, like a distant binary. What do they call that? A mate? Yeah, I don't think it's mate, but I think I was only supposed to roll 1 die there. Yes. Okay, so 6. Let's see. So in odds, it's orbit 1, and in evens, all right, so the secondary star, the companion star, that's the word I was looking for. The companion star is way out in the distance. It's out past the furthermost orbiting bodies. Okay. Now, there is it talks about here filling out the survey sheet on page 138. Which is this thing right here. I don't really have an easy form fillable PDF though, or if I do, then I don't know where it's located. So I will probably just put it in the notes instead. Although I do like that. I do like the sheet because it looks like a corporate work order sheet. All right, so the main world orbit. Now we're going to determine the orbit of the main world. Okay, roll 1 die 3 plus 2 and place the main world by counting out from the star. All right, 1 die 3 plus 2. I'll just divide that. Okay, so 2 plus 2, so 4. We have a 4. Okay, the main world is placed next, and its location determines habitable zones of the system. All right, roll 1 die 3 plus 2 and place the main world by counting out from central star. Okay, so it's 4th in orbit. And 2 die 6 to determine the main world type. Nine. Oh, a garden world. Look at that. So, of course, garden worlds in hostile is kind of misleading. It's not like Eden garden world. It's like maybe Eden with the serpent and 20-foot insect Tyrannosaurus Rex things looking for a snack. All right. So from here, just before I lose track of what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and fill out the data real quick on the sheet. All right. So I have noted, just jotted down the notes. Now, in this case, we've got the main world, the garden world, is the 4th planet. So that means that 3 planets are before it, and there's only 1 after. Now our next step in the process, because it goes through and it gives you the order and how to generate the planets of the system. First you do the main world orbit, then the gas giants, then the asteroid belts, if there's an asteroid belt, and then the rest of the planets. So on the gas giant, okay, the star map indicates, now it did indicate that Uh, there was a gas giant. Let's see. Where's that map? I'll just flip back to the map just as a refresher for everybody. We're in the Capella extraction zone. If it has this little dot right here, up in the right-hand bit, that means that there is a gas giant. And we come to the map that shows the Capella extraction zone. LW610 does have a gas giant. So there is a gas giant here. All right, the presence. Okay, they're relatively common. Check the star map. Roll 1d6 to determine their number. So it could technically be just a whole bunch of gas giants in our one world. All right, 1d6. Okay, so four gas giants. So if this is right, pretty much everything else in the system is a gas giant. So there's a couple of ways I think you could probably read this. Um, since there's only 5 planets, according to this rule, 4 of them are gas giants and the garden world. So I'm going to say that just about that all of the other planets, all the other orbits are taken up by gas giants. And since they're all inner systems, the inner system up here, just a page before where you're surveying the system, it describes the inner system, which is a hot region close to the star, and most main worlds are located at the outer edge of the inner system. So for our garden world, I would have to assume that that's going to be close, that's going to be at the edge of the inner system. But there's only one orbit in the outer system, so that's going to be a gas giant, and then everything else is going to have to be in the first 3 orbits. Although there's a good chance that, or at least a reasonable chance that the main world might orbit a gas giant, especially since there's so many gas giants. Normally you'd roll a die and then put put the gas giant that far out, and if the orbit is occupied, if it will bump planets out, or if there's something in that orbit already, then you move it out one. And if it's occupied, if the orbit is occupied by the main world, if you try to place a gas giant there, then you roll this to determine whether or not you bump the gas giant out or the main world orbits the gas giant. So instead of trying to bump everything around, I'm just gonna roll. I'm gonna reduce that down to 1 roll. On a 5 or a 6, the main world is actually a moon of this gas giant. Okay, a 2. Nope. All right, so this garden world is surrounded. Everything else in the orbits are gas giants, super hot Jupiter-like ones closer to the primary star, and one that's maybe way far out. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, note that down real quick. And gas giant. All right, now the next step in creating a system would be asteroid belts for each remaining planetary body that has not been identified as a gas giant. Roll 1 die 6. On a 6, it's actually an asteroid belt. Um, I guess maybe in some kind of weird gonzo world, a garden world could be an asteroid, but I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna skip there are no asteroid belts. Rest of the planets. Now we only had 5 to start with, so there's no other planets. Okay, but if there were, the procedure would be to remains after determination of the companion stars, main world, and gas giants. Um, and then you roll here to kind of fill out the orbits. Okay, here's some more planetary details for other types of planets. I like I like the little table, the streamlined table, because anyone who's familiar with Traveler knows that there are some pretty, when you're generating that universal world profile, there's a lot of data there, a lot of tables, which is cool. I like doing that, but in this case, it's gone with more streamlined options. All right, naming planets. So now we're going to name the planets. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. So LR 806, that gives us our example. So all of our planets are going to be 610 alpha, 610 beta. Let me go ahead and name those real quick. All right, so I've named them all the alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. 610 tells us our orbits. And here's our system survey sheet. All right, so now we have a general idea. After 6 hours, Luke clicks a couple final times at his terminal and sends out his report to Captain Carver and to Alicia Sharp as a pilot. She should know where things are, so it doesn't run into them. And a copy to Owen Carter, the chief scientist, because he's going to have a pretty big say in what planets they actually, what sites. Okay, so our next step, as Captain Carver, he reads over the printouts and says, "Good job, Luke. You got that done pretty quick. A lot of good detail here." "Why, thank you, Captain." All right. So the next step is locating the survey targets. So we've scanned the star system, and now what? Now we're going to roll 3 times. All right, so they're going to identify 3 specific bodies in the region of the star system that is in. All right, well, I think in this case, the garden world is definitely going to be their main priority, because it's a garden world. It's going to have the highest probability of being able to establish a colony. So it only makes sense that is that'll probably be their first one. Once that's done, then they will probably look for moons on the gas giants, right? Because the gas giants, there's not a lot useful that you can get out of them. You can refuel, and they might find something strange in the chemical composition, but usually in a situation like that, it's going to be the moons that are of more interest, because they're approachable. Generally speaking, you can get resources from them, and if there is anything strange, it's going to be an orbit around the gas giant instead of concerning the gas giant. And no one wants to get their ship crushed, because you don't get a bonus that way. All right, so creating this list of 3 worlds to survey takes time, another D6 hours. Have a crewman make a comms roll to use the sensors to detect the 3 targets. Um, if assisted, a second crewman can make their roll. All right. All right, so we'll have a crewman make a comms roll to use their sensors to detect the 3 targets. All right. Well, who's our guy? Let's see, not you. That's Benicio, I think. He's our comms. Yeah, he's our sensor op. All right, so comms to. Oops, I'll come over here. Find his sheet. And the first thing he wants to do, obviously, is he wants to go to the garden world. Oh, let's see. Does Luke have comms? Let's see if someone else has comms to help. All right, he doesn't. Maybe Alicia does. Yeah, okay. So she has comms. All right. So I think it's just going to be the main character. It makes it a difficult role, but she can just make a standard comms roll. Okay. Oh, 7. All right. So she does not make her roll, which actually, because she failed, that will give Benicio a negative on his roll, a -1 instead of a +1. So while Benicio is trying to triangulate with Alicia, and when she's trying to feed Benicio this triangulation with her error, it confuses him, and he's. Uh, oh, whoops! I never came up with where he was from. I think I probably did, and then just forgot to write it down. But it confuses him, and so it makes his role a little difficult. So that's going to be a -1 modifier. We'll see how that goes. Oh, whoops! Actually, that should be a -3 modifier because it was difficult. Um, so that would have failed. That would have failed. He rolled a 3 and a 3, and it should have been -3 for difficulty. So the first roll failed. So Alicia is feeding him the wrong data. And Benicio is like, "What are you doing? You're completely off. Don't you tell me I'm off." And so they get into a little spat. Let's see. And I think I will make that. I think I'll make that a reaction roll. I remember I listened to, just as an aside, I listened to an interview with an astronaut once, and they were talking about manning ships, and the astronaut used this term expeditionary spirit, and it was basically one of the main psychological triggers or traits they looked for before allowing someone to go in the program, which is basically that you have to put up with people. You have to show a lot of forbearance for people that you're going to be jammed with in this tin can for a long time. So if they have stinky feet or pick their nose or don't put their socks on the way you want to or whatever, you learn to let it go. But for the sake of drama, let's see. Benicio, we're gonna make a reaction roll because he, um, you know what? Actually, his psych evaluation says he seems level-headed, but he's apathetic. So I'm going to say he's not going to be the one making the reaction roll. He doesn't really care. He realizes there was some kind of error, and he's like, eh. But Alicia, she does not like. She's decided she does not like being questioned about that. Even though she's not serious, she does not like being questioned about that. So we'll make a reaction roll. See what happens. Hmm. All right. So no bueno. She gets angry. Don't tell me that I'm doing it wrong. I know how to use the comm sensors just as much as you do. Hey, I'm just telling you, you're feeding off the wrong coordinates. Look, you can see right there. And before it can get much farther, Captain Carver steps in and says, "All right, calm down, Alicia. Yeah, your feeds are wrong. We're gonna have to start all over." He looks at the logs for a couple of minutes, and he kind of grimaces because he doesn't really like to be in the middle of arguments at all. But he's the captain, and she is the one that made the error. All right, all right, clear out the buffers. Run the numbers again. Let's go. So on that failure, when we are rolling our 3 times, okay, if failed, then the PC's manning sensor stations can be directed to make further analyses each time this occurs. However, it takes time to conduct the search, and it gets longer and longer. All right, so the first search takes 2d6 hours. All right, so 8 hours. Now the second search, we'll just go ahead and roll. It's going to be 1 die 3 days, as they have to now try to recalculate, refigure. Maybe maybe the so many gas giants in the system is just making it difficult. 1 die 3 days. Okay, so 2 more days. And I'm going to go ahead and log those as what's going on here. All right. So now the second one is going to take a while. So ship routine starts kicking in. It's going to starting to take days. So a lot of the process is automated. The Wanda is sending out its pings. It's observing celestial tracks through her scopes and everything. Now Alicia, she does get a little bent out of shape to begin with, but she eventually plays it off because she's a joker. She doesn't take things too seriously, but she has a bit of a negative reaction towards Benicio, probably because he's so uh, apathetic seeming about everything, or level-headed. She rises and gets upset, and he just lets her rail, and that makes her angrier. So now we have kind of a second crew interaction there. All right. And then now we're just going to go ahead and she's going to try to help again. As she goes through and looks, she realizes that she had not properly calibrated her sensor station upon reaching the new system, and so that's why her errors were introduced. But she's a skilled sensor operator. She's smart, so she's going to try to help again, which is standard. I mean, that's standard. So let's go. Okay, 8. So just barely, but she did. Well, those 3D six-siders are kind of stuck sideways, but down here it tells us it was 8. Uh, Plus, she just has she's smart. So, all right. So she does. She succeeds. She's got her sensor gear calibrated, and now Benicio, as he starts collating his data, he's going to make his comms. Let's see. All right. So now, normally it's -2 for being difficult, but now it's going to be just a -1 because of Alicia's help. 9. All right. So that is a success. They actually found the planets with the navigation roll, and the comms roll are actually they're looking for the specific targets here on the planet. So here on page 140, we see Garden World targets. So that's the first one they're going to look at. We'll roll 2 die 6 or D66, not D4. Come on, GM. All right, 6-3. So a 6-3 is plant life. Okay, so they've detected some kind of plant life. 1 die 6, see what kind. We've got a 3. Plants in extreme environments. All right, so what they've found on this garden world are plants in extreme environments, and that is what they've decided they're going to look for, and that's what the comms roll was for. Now, it took several days to find it, so they probably got in orbit and used their sensors to look for the plants that in some kind of extreme environment. So we'll say that as they're looking for it, it took a long time because every time they're saying, "Hey, what about these?" So Owen's saying, "No, no, not that one. No, try again." And so it's plants in extreme environments, and then where in the world we're going to determine 2 die 6. See what kind of environment it's in. Okay, 5. So it's scrubland. So being a scrubland, we'll say that this environment, if it's going to be extreme and it's a scrubland, so this is probably a very, we'll say it's extremely windy. When I think of scrublands, I think of something that's very very dry. Often, you got the tumbleweeds. Maybe there's giant, deadly tumbleweeds waiting for them to land. So, let me go ahead and mark that. So, on our garden world, expedition target, plants in extreme scrublands. We'll say high winds and very arid areas. Let's see. Have they named? Does this world have a name, I wonder? If it's so far out, it's probably still being actively surveyed, and no one has established a colony. So I'm going to say not. It's the spacers may have a name for it that they kind of call it, but it has not been given an official name. Let's see. Let's see who would give that name. Wouldn't be the MRA. It would be the probably some colonial branch of the uh, United Corporate Combine. Yeah, there is. I think there is an agency. There's a regulatory agency. I think I've read, and it's going to bother me if I don't find it out. So, one second. Okay, yes. Looking under the colony campaign, there on page 159, it says that the United Corporate Combine only allows a single colony, so I'm going to say that they're probably the ones that allow a colony to be officially named, and that's only after a company has gotten the proper licenses and stuff. So sorry, that was just me needing to know. All right, so we have finally, as they fly around, they finally get the ping that they're looking for these strange plants. All right. And now, of course, the company wants to make as best use of its resources to find as many resources as it can. So as they are doing their scans, you're also supposed to come up with a resource for the planet type here on this table on page 145. So for each world identified with a potential survey target, the crew will also roll to identify a resource for that world. So for a garden world, it's 2d6. So let's see what other resource the crew of the Wanda found in their many orbits around the planet. Oops, I accidentally hit click twice. We'll do the first one. 1, 3. Or 3. No, 4. Ooh, oil. Uh-oh. Old Jed was shooting his plasma torpedoes, and up came some bubbling crude. All right, so now they have found oil. This planet has definitely gone up in its value, and the survey result has definitely gone up in its value as well, because in hostile, petroleum, oil is still a very important resource. So let me note that real quick on our mission log. They found oil, secondary target. Now, there's still something about these plants that they really want to check out. Something that Owen maybe is when they were determining, the scans, when they were scanning the readings. There's something about those. Okay. Yeah, right here on the next page, it kind of breaks down the different resources, and it says still in incredible demand. All right. All right, so if we go back to our table just to make sure that we are following our checklist. All right. So we got the navigation roll, locate targets on 3 different orbital bodies. Let's see. Now it says to do all 3 bodies, but I think what I'm going to do, if for no other reason, for the sake of just getting to the next step, I'm just going to do each planet at a time. So they're going to start at the garden world no matter what. All right, so now they're going to travel from the hyperspace point to the first survey target. So we're going to go back to page 88. All right, and we are going from hyperspace point to or from main world. So 2-6 times 10 million kilometers. All right, so 50 million kilometers from hyperspace point to our main world. Now I'll just note that on here. From hyperspace point to main world. All right, now we know already that from last time that our drive rating is 3G, so that gives us 30 million kilometers per day. So that's basically, it's going to be a 2-day trip. All right, it's going to be a 2-day trip. And our next step, I believe it said, is we're supposed to roll a encounter. Roll for the system encounter. Let's get back to our checklist here. All right, so right now we're on step 13, travel. How long will this take? For us, it's going to take 2 days. And roll for a star system encounter. So we're going to go back up here under 1 and do our encounter tables. Now, in this case, I believe there is a separate encounter table for exploration. I think. Maybe I should hit pause and verify that before I speak too long and waste more precious video time. Okay, no. What I was thinking of is the ship reaction has a 3d6, has its own table for exploration. But what we're actually going to use is the regular space encounters, like it says here, typically roll on the trip out to the hyperspace and again on the trip in. So D66. And that's going to give us a 6 and a 4, which doesn't really match what came up there, but that happens sometimes. So 6 and 4. Ship malfunction. All right. So we will, so that space encounters on 118, and our ship malfunction is just a couple pages down. Another D66 roll. Let's see what we get. Oh, I don't know what that table says yet because it's behind my thing here, but I'm not guessing 6 and 6 is very good. Waste disposal problem. Okay, well, it's not like ship explodes or anything, kind of like I was expecting, but that's nasty. That's nasty. All right. So we're rolling engineering every hour to diagnose a problem. So once they finally determine where they're heading to on the main world, and they start, they fire up the reaction, the maneuver drive, and they head out there under their normal burn. About 10 hours into the flight, crew member number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Luke, suddenly he starts screaming and cursing in Polish. And as he was stepping aside, or not stepping aside, but he had stepped aside to use the fresher. Sorry, I had to flip over real quick just to verify that that was the fresher right there. And it was. 3 right here. That's the fresher for the bridge. And so as see who's going to be on duty. 1, 2, 3. It's the captain. All right. So Alicia Sharp is on the duty. It's off shift. Captain's off shift. Off shift. Alicia's watching things, and she hears Luke start cursing and screaming, and she smells this awful smell that starts to waft out of the fresher and in through the open hatchway because she's got it open right now, just cruising speed. And she's, oh my God, what is that? And Luke comes out, and he is just covered in his own filth. The damn fresher blew out. Oh, it's everywhere in there. Oh, well, I'm not cleaning that up. Get in there. Jeez, get. Ah. So she gets back to her station, puts her headset on, and buzzes, keeps buzzing and buzzing and buzzing Penelope's room. What? What? You gotta get up here, Penny. Oh, Luke just blew out the toilet. Oh my God, it's disgusting. Oh, great. Can it wait? No, it cannot wait. Get up here right now. Bzz, 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 bzz. And she she hangs up, so Penelope, or Penny as she calls her, can't argue. And poor Luke is sitting there. He's not really sure what to do. It's just disgusting. Oh, it stinks. It smells like a 50-liter fart in there. Ugh. Let's see. Is there another fresher on our ship? Okay, it looks like there's a fresher down in the cold storage bay there. Cold storage. The hyper sleep bay down here, 17. But well, he's covered in filth. He doesn't necessarily want to track it through. So he's sitting there trying to decide what to do and trying to keep from vomiting. And so he just starts taking off his flight suit and slowly wrapping it inside out to try to keep as much of the muck and his own shit inside and not touching anything. Good thing there's gravity, because the rest of the stuff fell to the floor. Otherwise, there'd be little gobs of his feces floating all over the bridge and the passageway there. Penelope, she shows up, and being the experienced technician that she is, she has a little rebreather so that she doesn't have to smell the filth. It's not her favorite thing, of course, but she's worked on waste systems before. Okay, so roll engineering every hour to diagnose the problem. All right, so the waste system itself, it's not just that he let a huge turd and backed it up. There is some kind of valve, some kind of pressure regulator, or something that is messed up. Now, the waste disposal problem is a mechanical roll. All right, so she gets to roll every hour to diagnose the problem, and no one else wants to help her on this one, so she's not going to get. I don't know if there's anybody else that actually has mechanical, but no one else is volunteering to help poor Penelope track down the broken crapper. All right, so her mechanical. All right, so her mechanical's pretty good. Ooh, 11. All right, so she finds the trouble. She finds the trouble right away. There's actually one of the pressurizer valves uh, under the deck there. It actually got stuck, and so instead of doing what it was supposed to, it back flushed and uh, flung dung everywhere. Now, the next step, once it is diagnosed, roll 1 die 6 plus 5 has a target number for repair. Okay. And use the skill required as a dog. Okay, so the target number is 1 die 6 plus 5. Oh, 10. So it's a difficult roll. Too bad she wasted her. Well, she didn't waste it, but too bad she spent her 11 or got an 11 already. Well, maybe she's lucky. She knows what's up. So her difficulty is going to be 10 as a target number, and each attempt takes 1 die 6 hours. 1 die 6 plus 1 hours of work. So we're going to go back over to Penelope. And mechanical. With a difficulty of 10. Hey, 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 look at that. All right, so she knows exactly what to do, and in fact, she doesn't even get any stray poop on her. She's worked with the system. Maybe the Wanda, maybe this is kind of a reoccurring thing on the Wanda, and she knows how to get to it. But expert mechanical skill. She lifts up the deck plate. She clears the maintenance panels out of the way. Powers down all the circuits, and she finds the regulator, and it's a simple fix. She gets it back together, and that took 1 die 6 plus 1 hours. Okay, so 6. So she knows what it is, and she did it. She did it skillfully, but it's just something that takes a long time to get through. She's got to run through all these maintenance tests, repressurize the shitter, all those things. So it takes 6 hours, but everything goes well. And since everything did go well, that's going to give us an extra drama point. And so that's going to give us a 2 die 6 plus 2. All right. So not close to 14. So no looming crisis yet. All right. So that finishes up our in-system encounter. Okay. Arrive at mission-related location touchdown with a pilot roll. Let's see if it gives us any more guidance down here. Okay, we've rolled 3 times. So we're landing on a tundra, pretty flat, but high winds. All right. Okay, we found the resources. Landing and exploration. All right, we'll go ahead and it might be a little more than an hour at this point, but calculating the trajectory to the target requires a successful navigation roll, with each attempt requiring 1 hour. Okay. All right, so we already figured that. Okay, so, and it costs 4 burns to make an approach around a world, and another 4 burns to slow down and enter orbit. All right, so that's going to be 8 burns total for the slowing down because it keeps its momentum as it's flying, as it pops back into the system, I believe. And so we're going to take our burns, which we started with 24. We spent 4 to get out to the hyperspace point, and it's going to take 8 more to slow down and enter orbit. So now we're down to 12. Now, fortunately, the system has a bunch of gas giants, so this ship has the ability to scoop uh, from the atmosphere. So no major problem there just yet. Okay, so calculating the trajectory to the target world requires a successful navigation roll, with each taking 1 hour. All right, so again, it seems because of my confusion in the comms roll, I assumed that they were in orbit, but it was because I misread something. But you get to the system, you do the initial navigation roll to map out all the celestial bodies. Okay, and then from there, which is probably why you are um, making those doing all 3 of the comms roll. So from there, you're using long distance scans to find something interesting on 3 planets. Okay, I had assumed that you would fly to the planet and then scan it, so that was my error. So you pick your 3 targets, scan for whatever is interesting, and try to find those things. And then you calculate your trajectory to the target world. All right. So we'll look for we will roll navigation with our navigator after he has taken taken his shower. Now, fortunately, the diagnosis and the repairs they don't really take too long, and the waste system itself it can be worked on while the ship's underway, so no problem there. All right, navigation. All right, 10. So he figures out it takes 1 hour. He plots the trajectory to the main world. Okay. Now they're not going to try to refuel yet. They're only at half, so they should be fine to take back up. Okay. Now, once the survey ship has arrived in orbit, so they arrive in orbit and they look at this garden world, and they scan it for a while. Everyone's looking out whatever cameras or portals they can, because garden worlds are somewhat rare for what they're used to seeing. Right? They're looking for resources, and you can find resources, minerals on really any kind of world, and most of them are rock balls or gas giants, moons around gas giants. And so let's see. All right. So Alicia, she's looking around as they enter orbit, finish their final calculations, do their uh, second orbit burn to take up uh, uh, where they want to go, because now they know where they want to look. Now they've got to try to find a spot. So they're starting to figure out what the best place to land is, and they may have to travel a long distance. We don't know that yet. But she looks out the window, and the world it's beautiful. It's lush, at least from up here. It's lush. It has water, and she looks out the window and she says, "My, ain't it pretty up here?" And yeah, she's looking, and they go for a little. They go around a little bit farther, and says, "Oh, I think I can see my house from here." Ha 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 ha. And oh, he did succeed on his roll, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another drama point. So that's 3 drama points. So 2 die 6 plus 3. If we get a 14 or higher, something bad happens. Ooh. 9 plus 3. Close. Close, but no cigar. Nothing yet. All right, so once the survey ship has arrived in orbit around the target world, crew ready to begin their work. Okay, so they're going to start using their survey sensor, scan the target for landing site. And this is where we want to start, according to this, create some details about the landing site. Okay, they have to land the ship safely, but hopefully not too far away. All right, so I think at this point we will go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, it's probably over an hour now, which I try to keep it under an hour. Anyway, I hope this helps. I hope you don't mind me stumbling through a little like I did, and I hope you have happy gaming.